So in chapter 6 of Daniel, we actually see a miracle. Chapter 6 of Daniel, you have Daniel is thrown into the lion's den by King Darius. King Darius was his fucking friend, like his best friend. But he had some people that schemed against him. Wham bam thinking, man, Daniel's thrown into the lion's den. And even though he didn't do anything against the king, he had prayed to God. And King Darius says nobody could pray for 30 days. But Daniel prayed to his Jewish God. He was a Jewish exile. So the Jewish people are God's chosen people. So Daniel prayed to the Jewish God. And the Jewish God was the correct God. Because the Jewish God had kept all the lions' mouths sealed when he was in the den. And he survived the night. And since Daniel survived the night, that means his God was the one and true God. Therefore, all the other ministers and satraps, them damn satraps, were all put to death. Every single last one of them. Including their wives and children. Including their wives and children. Satraps. I don't know what a satrap is. But let's talk about Daniel in the lion's den. Daniel in the lion's den. Okay, so number one, he was a good minister to the king. But because he had been out-politricked, the other ministers of the council got King Darius to pass a law, signed the law into law 30 days, a prohibition law. You can't pray to any of your gods. Too many of you assholes have too many religions. You're praying to all these different gods. You need to worship King Darius. Don't pray to God. Just pray to King Darius. Daniel didn't give a fuck, though. He just kept on praying to his Jewish God. He just kept on praying to, we'll say, Joe Pesci. He just kept on worshiping Joe Pesci and the donkey. Because, you know, the law of Medes and Persians says if you sign a law, you got to keep it. So therefore, King Darius, since he had signed that law, his hands were tied. Sorry, buddy. I know you're my best friend, and all you were doing was just muttering a couple words at night to yourself, but, right? Go ahead and lopped him into the lion's den. Now, Daniel prayed to God, right? He just kept praying to God. And guess what? His all-powerful God actually did save him. He saved him. The Jewish God closed the mouth of the lions. The Jewish God closed the mouth of the lions, and then King Darius ran to see what had happened to his friend, and he goes, "Hey, you okay?" And he goes, "Yep." And that's it. That's chapter 6, and then there's other chapters, but that's it's mostly used as a metaphor, right? Daniel and the lion's den. It means if you're in a fucking situation where you're just surrounded by enemies all over the place. Makes you think of a lot of different things. But some of the things that it made me write, if you're in a sticky situation, Back to the Future, they caught lightning in the bottle. Well, if you want to get back to your time, you're going to have to catch lightning in a bottle. Marty. We got to go to the future. It's about you. What, did we become assholes or something? Back to the Future, that was a dicey situation. Got thrown back in 1955. The Matrix, all those bullets. He got by just in the nick of time, didn't he? In the Matrix, just whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Indiana Jones. He had that big rolling ball, and he ran away from it, and then, you know, grabbed his hat just in the nick of time. Just in the nick of time. They're in a dicey situation. They're going through some shit, but they stood up, and they persevered. They weren't going to let the struggle beat them down. They were going to beat the struggle. Remember Simba and Nala and the three hyenas? Simba and Nala went to the elephant graveyard because a Scar and the 3 hyenas were supposed to kill him, but guess what? Simba and Nala got out of that fucking jam. They got out of that close call jam just like Daniel in the lion's den. Just like Daniel in the lion's den. So, we've seen this over and over again. You don't need the Bible. And then also, it's also childish. Oh, if you just close your eyes and pray to a Jewish God, then that God will take care of all your enemies. Yeah, right. I'm sure Daniel went into the lion's den and fucking found a little hole. Found a little fucking hole and then hid himself in the hole. And then, you know, for whatever reasons, the lions just didn't. Maybe he had a good stick. Maybe he had a nice little rock. But there's no way Daniel was thrown into the lion's den and he just sat there, Native American style, right there in the middle of the lions. Hey, lions, how are you all doing today? And it's childish, and it's stupid, and it's terrible advice. It's kind of neat, right, that once he survived that ordeal, so if you survive a miracle, then the king will smite all of your enemies. Because King Darius liked Daniel. Daniel was doing a good job. They had 120 fucking satraps or some shit. 120 satraps, but 3 ministers ran over 100, ran 120 people. And one of those ministers was Daniel, and he was like the best minister. Why? Because he had a great spirit about him. He's got a great spirit. That's a good soul right there. So they were jealous. The other 2 ministers, the 120 satraps, the people that they were jealous. They were in competition with him. Daniel was Darius's favorite. We're actually going to see that a bunch with Adam and Eve, or Cain and Abel, right? There was a favorite right there with Joseph. That was the favorite. Wasn't Joseph in the pretty coats? He was the favorite too. And the siblings are all jealous about it. Sibling rivalry's a motherfucker. Jealousy's a motherfucker. Jealousy is a reason for evil. Sadism and nihilism is reason for evil too. So it's one thing for the siblings to be jealous, but they don't have to act upon it. But if you have sadism combined with nihilism, the love of torturing and hurting other people combined with the love of doing nothing, that's a deadly cocktail for the downfall of our republic. It's evil. You got one bastard taking pleasure in evil, and then you got these other bastards that are not giving a damn. That in order for evil to survive, all you need is for good people to do nothing. So there you go. Darius agreed. His hands were tied, right? Darius's hands were tied. I'm sorry. I know you're my best friend. You were just praying to some god. I signed the law. Okay? It's basically blood oath. I signed the law. It's blood oath. And then the king had sealed the lion's den with a ring, like on his finger, or like a ring key, a key ring. I don't know. Criminalism. That's another reason for evil. Criminalism. To steal your stuff, to exploit you, to take what is yours. I'm alive! Oh, praise Jesus. Poor King Darius, he couldn't sleep all night. So, he ran, found that Daniel was still alive, and then Darius killed all of Daniel's enemies, including their wives and children. Yeah, kill them all, including the wives and children. There is a corruption of blood back in King Darius's time. Makes me think of Noah and the flood. Well, there are some evil men around, so kill everybody. Just genocide the entire world. Yep, except for that family over there. But they're kind of the biggest assholes on the block. I know. I just randomly kind of picked one. I got to pick one of the families, I just destroyed the entire world because the humans are all evil. So. And then also the Moses and the Red Sea. You had all those charioteers. Really, they're driving around in charioteers. And the damn Red Sea had split open, and they're like, you know what? Let's make sure we chase Moses through the Red Sea. Let's make sure we go ahead and chase him through the Red Sea. What the hell? Did he just split the Red Sea? Yes, he did, and he's walking right through it. He's getting away. Well, we better go catch him and ignore this whole splitting of the Red Sea thing. Go, get them. So if you're, a big believer in Judaism and you're a big believer in religion and God, the Jewish God, not the Christian God. Jesus wasn't around. This isn't the Muslim God, the Buddha God, or the Bhagavad Gita God, Buddha God. It's not the Zoroaster God. Zorro? Do you worship Zorro? No, but maybe this was a Zoroasterism? No, it was Judaism. He was a Jewish exile, it said. So Daniel's a Jewish exile. And then once he got Darius on his side to proclaim his God to be the God of the whole kingdom, well, he was living on the easy street. Daniel's God was the one and only true God for the people of King Darius to worship. And that's why they say under the reign of Darius and Cyrus the Persian, Daniel did good. Daniel did good under Cyrus the Persian. So there you go. There's a little breakdown of the lion's den. Let's have the proclamation. We'll end it off with the proclamation at the very end here. So, at his order, Daniel was brought up from the den he found to be unharmed because he trusted in his God. The king then ordered the men who had accused Daniel, along with their children and their wives, to be cast into the lion's den. Before they reached the bottom of the den, the lions overpowered them and crushed all their bones. Then King Darius, and they crushed all their bones. That's almost like Grimm's fairy tales. Then the wicked stepsisters danced in iron shoes until they danced their legs away. Why would lions overpower them and crushed all their bones? I guess like in their teeth. Crushed their bones in their teeth. Then King Darius wrote to the nations and peoples of every language wherever they dwell on earth, may your peace abound. I decree that throughout my royal domain, the God of Daniel is to be reverenced and feared. So, if for all you Christians and Muslims and Buddhists out there, you picked the wrong religion. The God of Daniel, the Jewish God, is the real God, for he is the living God enduring forever. That's what the Bible says. The Bible says the Jewish God is the real God. Because the Jewish God is the living God enduring forever, whose kingdom shall not be destroyed. The Jewish God whose dominion shall be without end. The Jewish God, a Savior and Deliverer, working signs and wonders in heaven and on earth, who saved Daniel from the lion's power. So Daniel fared well during the reign of Darius and the reign of Cyrus the Persian. In the first year of King Belshazzar, King Balderdash of Babylon, as Daniel lay in bed, he had a dream, visions in his head. It's kind of crazy how a lot of these stories are. Then I had a crazy ass dream, and then the king believed it. And then we went ahead and killed a whole bunch of people in all these different towns with the conquering, what is it, the Israelites and the Canaanites? Is that who's pretty much going against each other? The Israelites and the Canaanites? Daniel's an Israelite, right? What about Darius? I guess he's an Israelite now too? Since he made everybody worship his God? Nah.